Sarah jolted awake at 3:17 a.m., not to a sound but to the lack of one. The farm's nightly chorus crickets, the rustle of possums in the dry corn stalks, the distant lowing of Old Man Henderson's dairy cows was gone, replaced by a vacuum, thick and unnatural, pressing against her eardrums. Her heartbeat sounded obscenely loud. She crept to the window, her breath frosting the cold glass. Moonlight bled onto the yard, illuminating the slumped form beneath the ancient oak. Bessie, her border collie, never slept there. Sarah pulled on boots, the silence amplifying every creak of the floorboard, every rasp of denim. The porch steps groaned as she stepped out. The smell hit her first, wet iron, spoiled meat, and beneath it a sharp, acrid sting like burnt plastic. She forced herself forward. Bessie lay twisted, her spine arched backward impossibly, head lolling at a broken angle. Her eyes were wide, milky, frozen in a silent shriek. No blood, no marks, just sudden, violent stillness. Sarah vomited into the petunias. Panic, cold and electric, surged through her. The chickens, she sprinted across the dew-slick grass, the silence making her ragged breaths sound like bellows. The chicken coop door hung askew, inside a slaughterhouse stillness. Feathers drifted like morbid snow. Hens lay in impossible configurations. One crumpled against the far wall as if thrown, another folded neatly inside a nesting box. Neck snapped, another splayed on its back, stiff legs pointed skyward. No predator's mess, just instantaneous, brutal death. Then a scraping sound. King Henry, her magnificent rooster, staggered from behind a feed sack. His comb was dull, his feathers ruffled. He didn't look at Sarah. He tilted his head upwards towards the coop roof and emitted a wet, gurgling click, click, click. His body spasmed violently once, twice, then his neck cracked with a sound like a green branch snapping. He collapsed instantly still. Sarah backed out, tripping over a limp hen, her scream swallowed by the suffocating silence. Get to the truck. Get to town. She fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking. The engine roared, a vulgar intrusion. She slammed it into gear, gravel spraying as she fishtailed onto the dirt track leading away from the farm. Her headlights cut through the pre-dawn gloom, revealing a nightmare gallery. A rabbit lay rigid in the middle of the track, back legs kicking in a final, frozen sprint. A family of raccoons were piled near the ditch mid-scuttle, teeth bared in silent snarls. Further on, a young buck, its graceful form broken, antlers digging into the earth, neck bent sideways at that same impossible angle. She swerved, tires skidding. It's everywhere, not just her farm, the whole valley. Tears blurred her vision. She passed the miller's place, their porch light on, but no sign of their barking dogs, only stillness, an unnatural, heavy stillness. Rounding a bend, Henderson's farmhouse came into view. His porch light blazed, but the familiar silhouette of his rocking chair was missing. It lay overturned. And on the welcome mat, Marmalade, his giant tabby, stiff as a taxidermied piece, eyes wide and clouded. Sarah slowed, dread coiling tighter. Then she saw him, Old Man Henderson, halfway out his front door, collapsed face down. One arm stretched out towards the fields, fingers curled like talons, the angle of his head. That same terrible broken line. A choked sob escaped her. It's not just animals anymore. Her gaze snapped to the living room window. The old TV was on, not a channel, static, but this wasn't white noise. It was a frenzied, strobing wall of gray and black, flickering wildly like a broken machine. It cast jagged, leaping shadows across the room, and in the center, draped over Henderson's favorite armchair, a shape. It wasn't solid. It was an absence, a coalescence of the deepest shadows the violent static couldn't touch. It hinted at impossible angles, too many joints, a head that seemed to merge with hunched shoulders. It pulsed faintly, rhythmically, in time with the static surges, not listening, feeding. A low, subsonic hum vibrated through her truck's frame, setting her teeth on edge. Sarah froze, foot hovering over the accelerator. The static's intensity surged. It wasn't just sound now. It was a physical pressure, a high-pitched shriek that drilled into her temples. Inside the house, the shadow figure shifted. It didn't turn. It didn't need to. She felt its awareness slam into her, cold, ancient, and utterly predatory. It knew she was there. The hum deepened. The truck's headlights began to flicker erratically, painting the scene in disjointed snapshots. The dead cat, the dead man, the strobing window, the deepening void in the chair. The engine coughed, sputtered violently. Sarah screamed, slamming her foot down. Nothing. The engine died with a final, pathetic wheeze. The headlights swinked out. Only the hellish, flickering static glow from Henderson's window illuminated the cab, throwing her terrified face into sharp relief. Inside, the shadow thing began to unfold, not rise. Stretched tendrils of pure, light-swallowing darkness seeped through the solid glass of the window, bleeding into the night. Air like ink and water. They didn't reach for her truck. Yet they writhed, tasting the air, vibrating in sync with the screaming static. The noise wasn't random. It was a signal, a beacon, a hunting call broadcast on a frequency that shattered life. The cold intensified, biting deeper than winter. It was the cold of interstellar void, of absolute negation. Sarah scrabbled frantically at the door handle. Locked? Was it always locked? She couldn't remember. Her breath came in ragged, panicked gasps, fogging the cold windshield. Outside, the static reached a deafening crescendo. The shadow tendrils stopped writhing. They oriented towards the truck, towards her. The pressure in her skull became agony. She could feel it focusing, a vast, alien mind pinpointing the last spark of terrified life in a dead valley. No, no. Her voice was a raw whisper, lost in the static's roar. She threw her shoulder against the door. It didn't budge. The tendrils of darkness flowed across the yard now, swift and silent as spilled oil, converging on the driver's side. The static pulsed, a physical blow. Her vision blurred. She felt a terrible pressure building inside her own skull, behind her eyes, at the base of her neck. It wasn't hands. It was pure, focused force. She saw the shadow mass press against the truck window, not obscuring it, but deepening the darkness outside. She saw her own reflection, wide-eyed and tear-streaked, superimposed over the featureless void. She opened her mouth for a final, useless scream. Snap, a sound impossibly loud and sharp, cutting through the static like glass shattering. It came from inside her own body, a blinding flash of pain then. Nothing. The static cut out instantly. The pulsing glow from Henderson's window vanished, plunging the world into absolute, suffocating darkness. The pressure vanished. The cold remained deeper now, settling into bones. Inside the dead truck, Sarah's body slumped forward, forehead resting against the cold steering wheel. Her neck bent at the same impossible, terminal angle as Bessie, as King Henry, as Old Man Henderson. Her eyes, wide and clouding, reflected only the perfect, absolute and final silence of the graveyard valley. The shadow its purpose served, its signal answered simply, dissolved, leaving only the moonless dark and the terrible, complete quiet of sudden, universal death.